Welcome, everyone, to It Tastes Different. I'm going to need you to go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button for me so that we can just move on and get these formalities out of the way. So if you would, just go ahead and do that so that you can stay up to date on all the videos that we post and all the content that we put out there. We put out a lot of videos. We put out about 5 or 6 a week. So if you like seeing all this stuff and games and different things gaming related, go ahead and do that. Follow us so that you can enjoy all the fun topics that we talk about and even comment and jump in on some of those conversations. What's for dessert? We unfortunately have to whip out the giant 1-gallon tub of Best Choice vanilla ice cream with E3. E3 was very vanilla this year, in my opinion. These virtual events seem to be that way. Not a whole lot of stuff we didn't already know was being talked about, and a few disappointments of things we were expecting to see that didn't happen. We're going to kind of go around the room and see what everybody thought, what maybe some of their highlights were, some of their disappointments were, and, just go around the table and see how it all went for us. Maybe not everybody thinks it was as vanilla as me, and maybe some people like vanilla ice cream. Vanilla's not my go-to. I don't hate it, but it's also not my favorite. So, Russ, how was this E3 for you? Was it vanilla? Or was it chocolate?
I mean, I think there was a mixture. I think for a post-COVID, E3 that everybody's still kind of coming back and recovering from, I think that's the biggest thing that affected this E3 this year is probably the fact that many studios were shut down for many months, or at least slowed to a crawl on a lot of things. Yes, people think, well, everybody could work from home, and it's still difficult. With certain things when they're storyboarding and stuff like that probably caused some delays in some things. So I think I still want to try to give the gaming community a little bit of grace, or at least the developers and stuff. There were a couple of titles that I was really excited to see a little bit more on. And then there was a couple that I was excited to hear about. And then there was just some people that really fell flat. I mean, that's just the way it is, but I'm sure we'll get into that here in just a moment, but for the most part, maybe it was a nice little mix. Maybe it was, maybe I actually got some Bluebell and some Bluebell Neapolitan. I upgraded from that Best Choice a little bit, for me at least. Nick, what about you, man?
I like vanilla. So I thought overall the E3 this year was pretty good. I mean, there were some developers that really didn't bring much of anything. I think our two biggest contenders this year were Nintendo and Xbox. I think they brought the best conferences this year. Some developers, the Bandai Namco was one game, so I don't even know why they decided they were going to put themselves in there. It's a dark, they put that dark anthology game, Man of Medan, but it's a different one. I can't remember what it's called.
The Man in the Van.
Yeah.
House of Ashes, I think is what it was.
House of Ashes, that's it. Which, okay, I mean, Man of Medan was kind of funny more than scary, but I've heard some of the other ones are a little bit better than Man of Medan, but I haven't played them. So this is the newest one coming out, and that's great and all, but I don't know. It's one of those franchises that I feel like they're really trying hard to get people to like that people just really don't care that much for, this dark anthologies. I just don't think people are really that excited for these games, and Bandai Namco is really pushing them out there to make them, make people want them, and people don't really want them. But and then Capcom didn't really have much of anything. Square Enix really didn't have much of anything either. I mean, it was, I think, some of the best. And then IGN had or I guess Jeff Keighley had the Summer of Games, which is his own E3-esque type of thing going on, which had some pretty good announcements in there. For me, Elden Ring, definitely one that I thought looked really good, and glad to see that. And that's coming out, I think, toward the end of this year or something like that. So, and that one's awesome. I love Dark Souls and Dark Souls-esque games, and this is from Software, so they make Dark Souls, and I'm super excited for it. But there was a lot of other ones that I thought were pretty good. But I think overall this E3 was was okay, right? I mean, it wasn't perfect. It was the best E3. It wasn't the worst for sure. I think we've had even worse E3s than this one. So I think it was okay. And Vanilla's good too. What about you, Shane? What do you think?
Well, Vanilla's fine, but I'm pretty sure I need some chocolate on there. I don't think it was quite vanilla. I believe there were a few smattering of sprinkles across that you guys probably don't see like I do. Microsoft proved that they have games now. They have quite a few games. We knew everything that was shown pretty much. I don't think there was anything that was a surprise. But for me, the sprinkles on Microsoft was the multiple Game Pass games. Even a few third-party games that were coming to Game Pass was a wonderful touch. I'm definitely happy to see that. Nintendo's was definitely, in my opinion, second runner-up, tight runner-up. But, Nintendo didn't have a super whole lot. The new Metroid Dread looked pretty good, but the E3 show itself was definitely lackluster in a lot of places. Pretty good, really good in some places. But like, Bandai Namco, that was a waste of life. Ubisoft really disappointed, in my opinion. And many others really weren't that good. And part of it might be that you don't have that live atmosphere. Even watching from home, you get you get that sense of excitement from people in the audience. So, but I think some of them did a good job with what they had to handle. With COVID and all that, and doing it all on video, and others just blatantly just didn't give a crap and failed. I'll talk about my biggest disappointment later, but other than that, what about you, Pat? You're anti-vanilla. What do you got?
I will say there was one announcement on the Microsoft conference that I wasn't even aware of, and I don't know if any of us were, that Redfall game. I was like, what is this Redfall game? That weird looking vampire co-op shooter game. That looked interesting, but I don't know more about. Let's see more about it. But I would say overall the conference was a little boring, especially after missing last year's conference. I figured they'd have been able to pour a little bit more into it. I know it's remote virtual conference, but I don't know. They finally showed off some of the Guardians of Galaxy's gameplay from Square Enix one. I was on the fence about it, but it seems very funny. The longer the trailer went on and the gameplay, the funnier it seemed. It's just really hard for, I don't know how to say this. You're so used to, when you're a kid, and when I was younger, I read comics, and then when you see an artist adaptation of the comic, you're just like, you missed the mark. And then we've been so used to seeing Marvel movies for so long, and then you whip out a Rocket Raccoon with a weird freaking braided beard, you're just like, even when stuff goes back to more comic book representation of how things looked, it's hard to adjust. And some of that's probably with that game, in my opinion. But overall, there wasn't a lot of surprises in this E3. I wasn't like going hooping and hollering or like, yeah, I was more like, nah, So E3 for this year was, like I said, I don't hate vanilla, but vanilla's not my favorite. So it's meh for me. I really felt this year's E3 was meh. I really wanted to see more info on a few things, and I really wanted to see some things that we didn't get to see, while I'm super stoked for Starfield, I wanted to see more than just what they showed. They didn't show anything that I thought was worth a darn on the game, so, for me, it's overall was meh. So, like I said, just meh for me. So let's kind of flip flop it around a little bit here. How about we just, instead of, big round robin like we were going to do, why don't we just start with Russ? Kind of tell us what your biggest the biggest thing they showed that you were most excited for? And then what about maybe something that was a huge disappointment or that you were expecting to see that didn't get to see? So a disappointment in that aspect, you know, was there something that you were just like, oh, I got to see this. That's cool. I'm ready to see this. And then this, and then what about like a disappointment for the show? Something you wanted to see or didn't get to see enough of, or they didn't show at all?
I mean, I think all of us, the Starfield portion of it is a big deal. So I'll go somewhere else with it. Outer World 2. Really excited for that. I didn't know that much about it or anything. So when the trailer came out, the trailer was fantastic. Love the mocking of it all. That was just fantastic. I absolutely loved that. So very excited about Outer World 2. I liked Outer World, the first one, a lot. So I don't expect much different. I mean, I'm kind of glad they did come out with the 2 because the first one was kind of short. And in my opinion, it wasn't that long of a game that I've been used to. And then kind of on the back end of that, Age of Empire 4, really excited to see that as well. So those are two of them. And then, disappointment wise, I want to go twofold and like, I am so disappointed with Ubisoft. And I mean, we already know about Far Cry 6. We know about all that stuff, but like, we didn't see anything about Skull and Bones again. It's starting to feel like that game may be dead in the water. No pun intended. Actually, yes, pun intended. It's dead in the water, or at least maybe possibly. And then, and I hope I'm not taking this from anybody, but Rainbow Six Extradition, another flippin' 3-player co-op game. So annoying. Just like, come on, guys. Like, what's up with that? So those, I mean, that's my cap. So, you know, I don't know if we're really going round robin, but I love Nick's face so much that I want to call on him next. Nick, what about you, brother?
I guess some surprises for me that I thought actually looked really good and looked like really good games. There's a lot of games that they showed off that I would love to play. So don't get me wrong there. So when I say name these off, these are not like my top tier, like, oh my God, moments, but these are like ones that I was like, wow, that looks really nice. And that looks like it might be a really fun game. Stalker 2, first off, looked phenomenal. I mean, that game looked really good. I never played Stalker 1, but Stalker 2 looked awesome. And graphic wise, and, you know, we all like first person shooters and stuff like that. So, you know, hopefully the gameplay holds up with the graphics, right? So, I mean, there is a, you know, kind of, you know, Stalker 1 has that, you know, a fan base that follows it. So it must be doing something right to have some, you know, kind of a strong fan base. So I'm hoping that Stalker 2 turns out to be really good because it looks really good. And I like the trailer that they showed off and the kind of extended gameplay that they showed off during the Xbox Bethesda conference. So I think Stalker 2 looks really good. I guess if we're going as the biggest thing for me, I guess for me, it would probably be Elden Ring, which I already talked about before. You know, again, it's a Dark Souls game-esque game. And those are always up my alley. So I'm always, I'm always ready to play those. There's a lot of other games too, though. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of other games that I just can't wait to play, that they showed off. But my biggest disappointment for me really is Babylon's Fall. That game, I was so excited for that when they showed it off the first time, like in E3 a few years back. And then I was just like, and I love Platinum. And this is like it's a live service game, which also has me going, I don't know about live service. That's always kind of hit or miss. And the graphics on that game, like, it's totally different than I remember it being. It is a 4-player co-op, so that's fun. But it looks weird graphically. Like, I don't know. It almost looks like an old GameCube game or something graphically. And, you know, it's got Platinum. So that's the only thing that really just makes me think that it might be, you know, even though it has this kind of older graphic style, it might be a really good game. But it seems to have changed a lot since the first time we saw it. And I don't know if I'm for it anymore. I still do want to play it. I still do want to try it out. But I'm just, you know, after seeing the trailer and what they showed off, I'm a little bit more cautious about that one. So my biggest disappointment would probably be Babylon's Fall, because I really had high hopes for that game, and it looks like it may not turn out to be what I want it to be. But who knows? I mean, until I play it, we'll never know. But yeah, that was definitely my biggest disappointment from E3, as far as a game I really wanted to see. What about you, Shane?
Yeah, it's a tough one because there was several that I'm really, really excited for. I think the game that caught me the most, it's not a series that I absolutely love, but I really like. Forza Horizon. Man, when they started showing that, I was just, holy crap, that is stunning. I enjoy the games a lot. I really do. It's just, I've never been rush out and get Forza kind of guy ever. I like more arcadey stuff, but my God, I saw that and I'm like, that's sexy. If you were going to call a game sexy, that's the game. That's a sexy game. But the graphics were just mind blowing to me. Granted, that's probably a high end PC. So if that was a Series X, I would drop a toaster in my britches right now. I mean, that game is gorgeous. My biggest disappointment, honestly, is Square Enix entirely. They did not show me Final Fantasy 16. They didn't show me Final Fantasy 8 Remastered, which I know they're not making, but I really want it. And they didn't show Final Fantasy 7 Remake Part 2 quadruple, Helix, Squaresoft, whatever. They didn't give me anything.
They just showed chaos.
Yeah, they didn't give me the games that I think everybody was expecting to see something on. And huge Final Fantasy fan, huge. And I'm very disappointed by that. They try to go with new things, and that's cool to a point, but you gotta keep the people happy, give them those breadcrumbs they expect, and then sprinkle on a little garlic or something that they did with that. Was that Final Fantasy game that you demoed, Nick? Was that on the PlayStation?
It's chaos. No, it's Strangers in
Paradise.
Paradise.
What the hell kind of title is that for Final Fantasy? That sounds like a sex novel. Get that crap out of here. But that was
and Fabio.
Yeah, it was Fabio. Look at my sword. It was just terrible. The whole Square Enix one really disappointed me. Before I start crying, I'm going to pass it over to Pat here because I really am pissed off about that. What about you, Pat?
So bad he's choking.
First of all, I want to point out Nick's hypocrisy. He's over there bashing Bandai Namco, and his most excited and top thing is being published by Bandai Namco.
I know. You are the definition of oxymoron.
I'm bashing them because they could have taken that time to, instead of showing off Dark Anthology, they could have showed off more Elden Ring and some of the other stuff that they're working on. They could have even showed off no, that's Namco. Well, no, yeah, Bandai Namco. Tales of Arise, which is coming out soon in September. They could have shown that off. They could have showed so many other games, and they take that time. But I mean, they did show Elden Ring during Summer of Games, but they took their E3 slot just to show off Dark Anthology, which I don't think anybody gives a crap about.
We play it as a comedy game. That's how we do it. So,
yeah,
it's funny.
It's a comedy.
It's funny that Shane picked Forza because that was like overall most anticipated award winner, which in my opinion signals a very, very lackluster E3 when the most anticipated game is a Forza Horizon game.
Any racing game.
Oh, there was
exactly.
There was many more, but just the presentation of it really blew me away. I mean, come on, even you.
I mean, it's pretty, but it's not even on my anticipation list. It's
but
like,
that's completely out of your realm of gaming. You don't play racing games. You just don't.
But it's still, to get a racing game, the most anticipated E3 2021.
I mean,
to me says piss poor E3.
You would play a dating sim before you play a racing game, and I'm pretty sure you are right now. So, but
I will play Dark Souls before I play a racing game. So,
what about a Bandai Namco game?
I will play a Bandai Namco game. So for me, there's a lot more disappointment than it's hype for me in this year because I was really disappointed. And Shane stole two out of the things that I was going to do, like Final Fantasy 16. I was like, come on, let's see some gameplay. And then, I'm like, at least tell me that Final Fantasy 7 Remake Part 2 is on the horizon, something. And so what do? They whip out this freaking Marvel game. And I'm like, did you guys not learn your lesson with the Avengers yet? You know, you guys don't do a good superhero game. But like I said, that one got better as it aged. You know, so I'm gonna have to go with another disappointment. One of my bigger disappointments was I really expected Nintendo to announce their Switch Pro. I really wanted to see that, and I wanted to see them show a next gen game with it that was just like blow your socks off. You know, I wanted to see them show like Breath of the Wild with newer, cool looking, updated graphics on this, you know, 4K Switch Pro, and I didn't get to see that. You know, and so I was really, really disappointed in that. And like I said, a lot more disappointments than what I would consider, oh my God, or yeah, I love this, because yet COVID does play a unfortunate circumstance for these games. We're not seeing a whole lot of games left for this year that are just like AAA titles or that we got to play. You know, there's a plethora list of games, but as Russ pointed out, one of them's a huge disappointment because it's 3-player only, which we knew that going into the Rainbow Six Extraction, or it was going by Quarantine before, was only 3 players. You know, we have Back 4 Blood, which is coming out that we're really super stoked about. But Babylon's Fall was intriguing. As Nick said, it looked like, you know, looked bad. I don't know what they did to the graphics, but I guess maybe that's what they got to do when they're trying to run a games as a service game for Square Enix, you know, because that's what it's going to be. So for me, the most anticipated thing was still a little bit of a letdown for me. My most anticipated thing was to see more of Starfield. And that's just, I wanted to see that. So in lieu of that being a disappointment, the thing that got me was the Metroid Dread. I'm like, oh, I love Metroid. And so since we've known that it's been in development hell for a long time, and so it's 4, I'm going with Metroid Dread. It's my most anticipated that I really want to play. And I will be getting it, you know, because I'm not going to get a Metroid 4 Prime anytime soon or anything. So I'm going to be getting Metroid Dread, which I like Metroid. So that's my most anticipated in my mind. It's disappointment. You know, who else has got some honorable mention stuff that they want to kind of bring in and throw in the mix? You know, anybody got some stuff that they were like on the fence about, but, you know, that they want to talk about? Or maybe something that was just a talking topic that somebody had.
Well, maybe I could throw a couple of things out there. You know, indie titles with Xbox are a big thing. 12 Minutes looks really, really cool. I think it's called Somerville. That one looks kind of neat. And then Replaced looks really cool. Those are some indie titles I saw that I was like, wow, you know what? I'm sure Nick will remind me when the time comes about them, you know, because I won't probably remember them. But those looked really awesome. And then just a little bit of talk. If you can see PlayStation kind of posturing, realizing that they're not getting enough 5s in people's hands, you know, with Godfall going to 4. You can look at some titles probably coming to 4 that were supposedly being 5 only type of releases. So that was kind of telling to me as well.
Right. And Nick, they also listed a whole bunch of demos, right? ID at Xbox listed a whole bunch of demos that were coming out as E3 was going out there. I think, Nick, did you play a few of those demos?
Yeah, there was like 30 of them that they released.
Was there 30?
So, yeah,
okay.
God, I can't remember the last one Nick had me download, but I haven't got to try it yet. But he was just raving about it. But there was 30 demos. I believe they were all the ID at Xbox games.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, I've got to get time to dive in there because I'm just really excited for it. But all
right. Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, Nick had mentioned those 30 game demos that came out, and he had downloaded a few of them, and I downloaded a couple, but I haven't got time to play it yet. Mm-hmm. You know, so who knows? I mean, that stuff like that's kind of cool, but you know, a demo to me is like, okay, I got so much in my library back catalog that I need to play. I don't have time to play a whole lot of demos. But what I was looking for out of E3 is what I look for at every E3 is those either surprise game announcements that we weren't aware of, or surprise release dates that we're like, oh, this is a next year game, next year game. You know, I would settle for this holiday season, which is what we got for Halo, but we already kind of figured that was going to happen because Microsoft pushed it back from release last year. If they were to push it again, not from like any of us, but I think they'd have a riot on their hands,
Oh yeah. But I really say Halo was a disappointment to me, because it didn't really, I mean, we got good multiplayer information, free to play. Awesome. I like that. But I wanted to know more about the story. I wanted a little more information about that. The little bit of the trailer stuff they showed. And by the way, the graphics from this presentation from last presentation, tenfold difference. It truly was. It was looking much better. But we got just a little snippet of gameplay. He was, Chief was talking to another AI. But it really didn't give me a sense of where this story is going. Is it still the Prometheans? Are we going to get another battle with, the Covenant again? Or hell, even the little crawly bastards from the first one? I wanted a little more information. And I think, Pat, you were right when you said about Starfield. I believe we had talked about it too, is not enough of it. It's like their biggest games. They didn't give the people what they wanted, which was, a little gameplay. They said that Starfield was gameplay, but it wasn't really gameplay because it just showed a dude sitting his butt in a chair and pushing some buttons. That's me at work all freaking day. They don't call me gameplay. So, but yeah, that was kind of a disappointment. But Halo was also, besides the disappointment, was also nice to see that they've done that much work, that Halo was going free to play. So, you can jump on your PC, your Xbox, whatever, and jump in and play. You don't have to worry about, owning the game and crap. And that was really cool. Does anybody remember, though, my highlight, there was a game where it was a 4-player co-op where all you needed was one person to own the game. And I can't remember what it was. And then you can invite your friends to play it, just like It Takes Two. I can't remember which one it was. I don't know if it was Left 4 Dead or Back 4 Blood or what. I wanted to say it was Back 4 Blood.
I think it was the DLCs for Back 4 Blood, that if one of you owns the DLC for Back 4 Blood, the others could play it. I think that was the one it was.
Okay. See, that's awesome. I mean, stuff like that makes my day. It's not, it's not new gameplay. It's not a new game, but it shows more love to the gamers, and that's what I like to see. You don't get enough of that anymore. Sony and EA have become really anti-gamer anymore, and that's heartbreaking. How you doing? But, this E3 was not bad, in my opinion. It wasn't, it was definitely vanilla with some sprinkles. I will definitely say there were sprinkles. But, what about you, Nick? Well, you were going to say something and then, well, you did. So,
Nick, you played some of the demos, right? That came out the same time.
I played
as the E3 release.
Yeah. So I played the Strangers in Paradise. Graphically, that game looks horrible, but, gameplay wise, it's okay. It's a little difficult. It's kind of Soulsy in a way as far as difficulty goes. But it is Koei, so it's kind of that, the combat's kind of a reminder of, enemies don't, there's not like a bunch of enemies, kind of like Dynasty Warriors, because Koei makes Dynasty Warriors games, but kind of that combat style, if you think about it, but just single player enemies. And so it was okay. Like, if it got some more development time, it's supposedly that demo is a pretty early look at it game, like alpha almost. So, by the time it comes out, it might be pretty good. So I'm definitely going to keep it on my radar as far as it might be a potential good game. Then Xbox came out with their demos for a bunch of their indie titles, and I only played a few. Tunic, which is one that's highly anticipated. It's kind of like Zelda, but you play a fox and this 3D world. That one's okay. I found it to be okay. It's a little difficult, and it's a little generic in some ways, but it might be, when it comes out, it might be pretty good. I think it's only developed by one guy, so I can't fault him. I can't make that. So, hey, more power to you, buddy. Then I played Death Trash, which I didn't really much care for. It's kind of a cyberpunk aesthetic, pixelated, kind of isometric RPG. And I don't know, maybe the demo didn't do it justice. I just didn't feel much from the demo. The one that I tried, and there was a lot. There's a lot more, and I didn't try them. But the other one I tried was Rift Breakers, and that one was a lot of fun. Rift Breakers is kind of like this top-down kind of isometric view. You play as a robot, and it's kind of like base building and kind of like tower defense, but you don't have to stay in your base like a tower defense game. You can kind of build up your defenses and leave, and your robot has combat capabilities as well. And I hope that game has. I didn't see anything on it, but I hope that game has like some sort of co-op or something like that, because it'd be cool to be like 4 mechs building a big base against enemies. It kind of reminded me of Factorio, Patrick, but without the automated systems and stuff, because you have the enemies bugs swarming the base and everything, and you're trying to keep it defended while you're building different things and collecting resources and stuff. So kind of reminded me of that in a sense. But that one was really fun. So yeah. So there are some good demos out there. And there's supposedly there's like, I don't know how many Xbox has, like what, 50 or 30 or something like that demos out there.
I thought it was 30.
30?
I thought it was 30 demos.
So of all the indie titles out there. So I bet you there's some other ones that are pretty good. I just haven't tried them yet. There's quite a few out there.
Now you better get cracking on that.
I'm going to have to.
We need those TPS reports on our desk by morning. Those 30 games.
I got to let you know which ones are good and which ones to avoid. Right.
And I believe we need a PowerPoint presentation as well.
Yep. On why they were bad. We need 2 pages per game. PowerPoint presentation.
All right. I could do that.
Cool. I mean, they showed off a lot, and a lot of it we already knew about. One of the things that I don't know, it wasn't even on my radar, and I didn't even know it was getting made, which probably just lends to the franchise, was the Avatar game. I mean, it looked pretty. I mean, it looked pretty. I'm like, I don't know if I'll play it or not. It's supposed to be this open world. It's an Ubisoft game. So we all know how Ubisoft open world games are going to be. I mean, but if the rumors are true, this is the game that made Disney say, you get to do Star Wars. So I don't know what Disney saw. It's Ubisoft. It looked pretty. We will probably try it, to be honest with everybody. We will probably try it. I mean, it's going to be a AAA title game. So, I don't know what to think about it. I don't think they really showed off a whole lot of gameplay. It was more just, and I don't even remember if they said it was in-game engine for the trailer that they showed. It looked like a bunch of CGI, but it's only like 2.5 minutes. Kind of the same thing with Starfield. They only showed off a 2-minute trailer in Starfield, and like half of it was reading text, and the other half was, like Shane said, there was somebody punching keys on a space shuttle. And I'm like, what is this gameplay? So I don't know what to think of that one. It's part of their Ubisoft Forward thing is where that one was shown. And I'm just like, whatever. But I'm not a huge Avatar fan anyway. I mean, it was cool. It was the very first like modern 3D movie I saw, but the game and other that stuff has just never intrigued me. But who knows? It may be a great game. What do you guys think?
Me and Nick watched it at the theater, and it was amazeballs at the time. But I tried rewatching it a few times in the last couple of years, and there's certain parts that really do hold up, and they hold up wonderfully, but not near enough. Like 95% of the movie is really a B-rated movie. If you go back and look at it, the dialogue, the story, the characters, I mean,
it's the 3D movie that couldn't live up to hype, because I agree with you. I saw it in the theaters in 3D, and I was like, this is freaking amazing. I've never seen anything like it. And then I bought it on DVD, and I'm like, this is garbage. This is trash.
Yep.
So
I agree.
I got Starstruck.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I saw it in 3D, like Shane said, me and him went and saw it in 3D, and it was amazing. I was like, oh man, this is the coolest thing we ever seen. And then I remember watching it later on, 2D, just DVD or Blu-ray or whatever it was on. And I was like, it's all right. Like, it wasn't like it was in theaters. So I don't know why. I mean, I understand why, but I just like, I don't know. One thing is, again, like you said, Pat, it's Ubisoft. So who knows what we're going to get with it? I feel like it's going to be just an open world, basic Ubisoft like template that we get with every single game that they make that's open world. But with Avatar, and again, it's like I don't know how much of a, and I'm sure there is one, but I don't know how big of a fan base there is for Avatar. I mean, the movie came out years ago. I forget about the movie until someone mentions Avatar. And I'm like, oh yeah, that was a thing, wasn't it? Right at one point. And they're making other
banking
ones?
on the new movie. Yeah,
they're making.
I think
they're making 4 sequels. More. James Cameron.
I thought they were only making 2.
No, James Cameron has 4 in his head. And
well, I thought they were only allowing 2 to make it a trilogy.
They might be, but I mean, think about it this way: those characters from the original movie, God, that has to be 10 years at least since that came out.
11 years old.
11 years old. So Sigourney Weaver ain't got much life left on her.
You better start making the movies.
I will say though,
the lead guy, what the hell has he been on since? I mean, he's probably on food stamps, unemployment or something.
Was he in Terminator? I think he was in Terminator and some other stuff. But I mean,
but that one don't count.
For me, it's like, but in my opinion, and this is my personal opinion, Avengers could have just died with the first movie, and I would have been fine with that.
Shut your dirty mouth.
Not Avengers. I'm sorry, Avatar. My bad. Avatar could have died with the first movie, and I would have been fine with that because Avatar. I don't know. I'm not invested in the Na'vi and the whole thing that's going on, like the nature, the tree huggers versus the military. Like, I don't care about any of that. It's not that interesting. I don't think Na'vi me personally, I don't think Na'vi as a cult, as a group of characters is that interesting in their own right. I mean, from that 3D CGI trailer that Ubisoft showed, the coolest part for me was the mechs on the human side, the mechs and the like big attack ships and stuff that they had and everything like that. That looked cool. Like them flying on the birds and touching the rhinos and stuff. I'm like, I don't care about this. Like, I'd rather pilot that mech and destroy them all. That's what I like to do in the game. But I know that's not what we're going to be doing. We're going to be playing a Na'vi character. And again, I just don't care about that. I mean, I don't know. I'm not excited. I'm sure we will play it, but I'm just not that excited for this game.
I'd almost.
Russ, are you excited for Fern Gully for adults?
I would much rather play as the Camino in episode 2. I think I'd rather play with them than the Avatar characters. I think I get more out of those guys than I would. And for those that don't know, Camino are the ones that made the clones in the Star Wars prequels, if you want to call them, episode 2. So, you know, I have no desire. I'm going to admit something on national YouTube and podcastism. I have never seen Avatar.
Holy crap.
You're not missing anything.
Yep. I've never seen Avatar. I have no desire to see Avatar. I'm concerned that it will take 2 hours and 41 minutes because the other day I was looking at it and I was about to press play and I said, no, I'm not in the mood. So, you know, I can leave it or take it. I mean, Patrick said exactly the only reason why I'm happy for Avatar is because that game is making Disney look at the fact of Ubisoft making a Star Wars game. So yay for that. Beyond that, we'll probably have to play it for a review, and hopefully it blows my mind. Hopefully it's the greatest game we've ever played. You know what? I don't give a crap who the characters are. If it's the greatest game we've ever played, then fine and dandy.
Or we just get to murder a bunch of blue people, which Nick just apparently wants to do really bad.
I really want to be in the mix.
You know,
watch out, Smurfs.
He wants to run that mech into some Na'vi and their rhinos.
Can I ride the back of Patrick on Ubisoft? We had that release for the Division Heartland. We had an announcement, free to play. You know, for all we know, it's going to be like some mobile game or something like that or whatever. But maybe I can hold out some hope. I enjoyed the Division and Division 2 a lot. Me and Patrick played a lot of Division. And, you know, Division 2 was unfortunately a lot of the same, but we still played quite a bit more, I think, than Shane and Nick did of that game. But I do enjoy it. So it says it's a standalone. It says it's free to play. My assumption is going to be either a mobile tactical building game or it's going to be a only PvP Rainbow Six type of game, Rainbow Six Siege type of game. So, you know, we'll see, but it is what it is.
Yeah, the only 2 good games I think that Ubisoft showed off is Far Cry 6. I think Far Cry 6 looks really good. And the Mario and Rabbids, the new one of that. I think the original Mario Rabbids was a really good game. It's kind of like an XCOM-ish light, but with Rabbids and Mario, and that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it, so I look forward to the second one. I'm sure I'll get it as well and play it. Other than that, yeah, I agree, Russ. They should have showed Heartland. I would love to have seen Heartland and see what more about that game. Like, there was just some games that, of course they showed off Just Dance. That's always got to be there. I thought they were going to open with it, so, lost some money there. They didn't. They usually do. There's usually a parade and everything like that with Just Dance, but they didn't have it this time. They had it later on. But other than that, and then they just showed off DLC for existing games that they already have out there, like For Honor and Valhalla and all that stuff. So the only two games that really, and then they showed off Steep 2. Republic Riders. Sorry, I get the name mixed up so many times. But there was only really two games that actually looked good, which was Far Cry and the Mario Rabbids game.
I will say that all you have to say is one thing, and that's all you need to know for Heartland, is it's free. So it's going to be one of two things. It's going to be a battle royale game, or it's going to be some type of multiplayer game so they can make money on skins, some type of battle royale or some type of game like that. And I'm out at that point. The only way that I would probably play it if it's free is if it's going to be a games of service game and they're just banking on people buying cosmetic stuff or the extra stuff. But if it's a battle royale game, I'm already out,
Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
there's just too much of that crap, and everybody's got a damn genre. That was one thing got to give Halo is they're not doing battle royale. I was very happy to hear that. Could they have done a good job? Yeah, Halo is the king of multiplayer, but I don't need another, battle royale. It's just pointless to have that many out there. But
I love how each of us kind of have like forgiveness for our favorite IPs. Like Shane has such forgiveness for Halo. Like that last Halo was not good. It was like 22 minutes of gameplay. We finished, I think me and Patrick finished it in a night. Like they have a lot to do in order to get my confidence back in that series. And to show, I'm honestly like, we don't have much to fuss about with Xbox because they came to play. They came to show what they had. But to show multiplayer, I think that you could say they're going to get back in esports, but it's not a battle royale. But all they had to show us was PvP stuff. That's kind of a letdown. That's in my opinion a little bit. I may be wrong.
They had a story trailer, which I thought was really interesting when you watch it. The reaction of Chief as he's, floating through trying to get to his little destination there, and he come across dead soldiers and stuff like that. He's not a outspoken guy, but like when he went to grab that battle rifle, off that Jeep, and that dude was just sitting there, he just kind of paused for a second, looked at him. I thought that was pretty cool. But I agree with you, Russ. The Hot 5 was just awful. It was. For some reason, they were trying to push Chief out and bring in Locke, and Locke sucked a lot. He's just awful. But I think they're making up for it on this one. I think 343 realized where they choked, and I think they brought back some of the original Bungie talent too. So hopefully that will put Halo back in where it needs to be. My another big disappointment for me was PlayStation. They didn't do nothing.
Well, they're not at the
conference. Well, I know they weren't at E3, but normally they will spit out info during the E3 time, or even even throw out some new trailers or whatever, just on their own accord. But they did nothing. And I know they've got like 20 games, first party games, in development right now. But we don't know squad about 90% of them. We know Horizon Zero Dawn, we know God of War. What are they doing? That's what I'm really disappointed with. I wanted to see, Sony say, "Hey, Microsoft, I'm glad you got some games," but boom, here's some for me too, but they didn't do anything. And I was real disappointed because I really like to see Sony on the ropes. And I like to see Microsoft on the ropes because that makes them work harder, makes them better. But Sony disappointed me. They didn't, they just did their own thing. They're starting to go the way of Nintendo and not, give a crap, but, in like a really crappy way.
Yeah, but Nintendo was there this time, which is surprising.
Yes.
I do wish PlayStation or Sony would have had something, I know they're not at E3 and they haven't been for a few years now. And it would have been nice to see a post or pre-show, because they have done that before where they've had like a little showing, a state of play beforehand, where they've shown off some of their upcoming titles and stuff. They did have something which was for, Horizon, which looked really good. But other than that, they didn't have like a kind of E3-ish show before E3, which they've done before in the past. So it was kind of disappointing to see that they didn't do anything like that. But I'm sure we'll get something from them sometime soon, I would imagine, hopefully, in the next month or two. They might have some sort of state of play or something like that where they show off or anything. I mean, they kind of missed the E3 boat. They missed that. I mean, one thing they missed by not putting something out around this time is they missed that the hype factor. Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of people are watching E3. A lot of people are paying attention to the games that are coming out and being announced and stuff like that. And that's a good time to throw in, even if you're not at E3, that's a good time to throw in your titles, right? And then because people will start talking about them, right? Like, oh, they weren't at E3, but they showed off this, and that. And then you kind of get mixed into that E3 mold, even though you're not there, right? So yeah, it's disappointing, but it is what it is. They're going to do their own thing. I thought for Halo, yeah, I would agree. Halo 5 story was horrible. I think this one looked really good. I wish they would have shown off more Halo campaign, gameplay wise, not just the trailer. I thought the trailer looked interesting, but I do like Halo multiplayer. So I did like the Halo multiplayer trailer. I like playing Halo multiplayer. So for a while, it's kind of like Call of Duty and all those multiplayer ones. I'm only playing for, a couple months and then I go on to something else. But, Halo is always, multiplayer is always one that I do play. So, yeah, I liked it. I thought it looked really good. I think, when you're talking about battle royales, like Patrick was, with Heartland possibly being one, like they're going to make Vampire the Masquerade. That's what they showed off on this one was a Vampire the Masquerade. I think it's called Blood Rush or something like that, which is a battle royale for that game. And it's like, I love Vampire the Masquerade 1. Just get 2 out. We don't need a battle royale of this. They tried to do the same thing with Legacy of Kain. They made that battle royale with that competitive game called Nosgoth, which was a Legacy of Kain. Instead of making a new Legacy of Kain, they made that stupid thing. So, I mean, I hate people trying to jump on this battle royale and competitive PvP bandwagon. Just make sequels to your games, and I think you'll have more people than those battle royale games that they come and go. That's the thing. They come, they make a lot of money, and then they filter out.
Yeah,
that's going to be Halo for you. That's why they're doing that free-to-play model, so they can start selling some skins and selling all that crap.
Yeah, they'll probably end up with Battle Pass is what Halo's going to do, and that's gonna suck. But if Microsoft doesn't get uber greedy, then it may not be bad. But yeah, I'll definitely play the multiplayer just like Nick. We'll drag you guys in for a few matches.
I'm going to laugh when I was like Halo Infinite Battle Royale. I'm just going to laugh.
It's hilarious how we're
they
so
said
much
they're not
as
doing it.
As a
they
group.
didn't say they were not doing it. That was never actually said. Nope. They did not say. They said that initial is going to be the battle maps, but there's more modes to come, which means they're in that model for Battle Royale. They never said they weren't doing a Battle Royale. They just said the initial release was the war style map. They never said that Battle Royale was not in the future for it.
There was an interview with, I can't remember who it was, and they said they weren't.
Yeah, he literally said the initial multiplayer was not Battle Royale. So that doesn't mean that they're not going to do Battle Royale, but there are additional modes coming.
Well, they're better than the hell not, because I'll be pissed.
Well, that's their free-to-play model. They got to get into that free-to-play model, and the only way that they can make money in a free-to-play is offer skins and all this other thing. And you can only do so many of these non-objective based maps like Massive War, Capture the Flag, King of the Hill, that type of stuff, they're going to get their money in Battle Royale matches for esports.
I guarantee you it's just like this, Shane. What you have to understand is that us as gamers, we've heard the words story-driven MMO, and it changed our lives. So we're always going to be resentful on anything that developers have to say. And that is a Star Wars shot there. But anyway, really what's so funny about us is that somehow, some way, every podcast we go back to either the hate for battle royales and the fact that we're not getting good content games, and EA. One of those two things will pop up in every single podcast, but it is frustrating. So like, hello developers, start kicking out some great co-ops and some wonderful single player AAA titles, and you will stop hearing It Tastes Different podcast gaming site. We'll stop fussing. Okay. Just do it. It's not that hard. You can do it. You guys can do it.
We will not stop fussing. That'll never happen.
No.
There'll be a new
but
topic.
At least we will stop fussing about that.
Yeah, as soon as EA stops being dirty, cheating, greedy bastards, yeah, then we'll stop with EA. But we all know that ain't happening.
Before this episode goes into regression on EA hate and Battle Royale hate, we're probably going to go ahead and try to wrap this one up. Anybody got some honorable mentions they want to pop out there before we wrap this bad boy up? I don't think anybody wants us to do another half-hour rant on EA or Battle Royale or why we all hated E3 this year or loved E3 or what excuses we're making for our favorite game developers.
Just going to say Back 4 Blood made me just freaking super excited. It looks fantastic. It looks like stupid fun we're going to enjoy the hell out of.
Nick, Russ, anything extra from you guys?
Let's just hope that this COVID stuff is kind of leveling itself out, so we can get back to some normal things like quality games and stuff like that. And hopefully that'll happen.
Yeah. I mean, nothing more for me. Just, there was some good games. There was a lot of good games and a lot of not good games this year. But for me personally, I have a lot that I'm going to look forward to. So.
All right. Well, my 1 gallon tub of just generic vanilla ice cream has turned into a 1 gallon tub of not so frozen milkshake. I guess we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up then. Make sure to like and subscribe, and hopefully you enjoyed what we discussed in this episode. Hope to see you in the next episode.
See ya.